I think that the Secretary of State for Health should have been fired for at least 15, 20 things, including lying to everybody in multiple occasions, in meeting after meeting in the Cabinet room and publicly. I think there's no doubt at all that many senior people performed far disastrously below the standards which the country has a right to expect. I think that the Secretary of State for Health is certainly one of those people. I said repeatedly to the Prime Minister that he should be fired. So did the Cabinet Secretary, so did many other senior people. In my opinion, disastrously, the Secretary of State had made, while the Prime Minister was on his near deathbed, had made this pledge to do 100,000 by the end of April. What then happened when I came back around the 13th was I started getting calls, and Number 10 were getting calls saying, Hancock is interfering with the building of the test and trace system because he's telling everybody what to do to maximise his chances of hitting his stupid target by the end of the month. In my opinion, he should have been fired for that thing alone. It was criminal, disgraceful behaviour that caused serious harm. We were told categorically in March that people would be tested before they went back to care homes. We only subsequently found out that that hadn't happened. Now, all the government rhetoric was we put a shield around care homes and blah, blah, blah. It was complete nonsense. Quite the opposite of putting a shield around them. We sent people with COVID back to the care homes. That when we realised in April that this had happened, the Prime Minister said, a less polite version of, what on earth are you telling me? When he came back after being ill, what on earth has happened with all of these people in care homes? Hancock told us in the Cabinet room that people were going to be tested before they went back to care homes. What the hell happened? In the summer, he said that everyone who needed treatment, who got the treatment that they required. He knew that that was a lie because he'd been briefed by the Chief Scientific Advisor and the Chief Medical Officer himself about the first peak. And we were told explicitly people did not get the treatment that they deserved. Many people were left to die in horrific circumstances. Just before the Prime Minister and I were diagnosed with having COVID ourselves, the Secretary of State for Health told us in the Cabinet room, everything is fine on PPE. We've got it all covered, etc., etc. When I came back, almost the first meeting I had in the Cabinet room was about the disaster over PPE and how we were actually completely sure that hospitals all over the country were running out. Secretary of State said in that meeting, this is the fault of Simon Stevens, it's the fault of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, it's not my fault, they've blocked approvals on all sorts of things. I said to the Cabinet Secretary, please investigate this and find out if it's true. The Cabinet Secretary came back to me and said, it's completely untrue. I have lost confidence in the Secretary of State's honesty in these meetings. I certainly believe that the Secretary of State, Matt Hancock, used Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty as shields for himself, yes. He used the whole we're following the science as a way so that he could always say, well, if things go wrong, we'll blame the scientists and it's not my fault. I think that was, I saw him discuss that with the Prime Minister, and I think it was one of the many appalling things that Hancock did.